Hello there, Serum17 once again. This is my Dawn of Dreams hard no damage run. We're on stage 10, it is the Mad Doctor. This very first encounter I'm using Ohatsu to shoot this wizard mage guy who looks a little bit like Barbady. And I'm doing it this way to just capitalise on the fact that he's very difficult to hit with the other guy. It takes a while, but once he's dead we don't have to worry about him spawning dudes. This level here is pretty short and simple for the most, but it does have a very annoying boss fight that's tricky because he can damage you very easily and he has a lot of life, and it's not a very fun fight, but we'll get through it and I'll show you some tricks hopefully to alleviate the stress of the entire event. But in the previous videos I've been waxing poetic about YouTube and about some of the workings of it, so I'm just going to finish up on what I've been speaking about. So hopefully you've watched the previous videos. If you haven't, you might have to brush up on them to have some full context. But we've basically been talking about, you know, the things that you can do which will essentially homogenize you on YouTube to be in the same boat as everybody else, doing the exact same stuff that everybody else does. And it's the type of choices that if you go against that grain, it can be more difficult for you. Because some people believe that there are these standards that you have to adhere to be successful, and you would be stupid to deny them, but at the same time you can consciously deny them. And that's pretty much what I do, because it's a very hard thing, folks, to know what you can do to change, but to have the character and fortitude to not do it because you don't believe in it. And it's hard, it's really hard. And it's a choice. And it's a choice that, you know, more dedicated people than myself have given into. But some people are just built differently. Ooh, right here, folks. When you knock an enemy to the ground who has a lot of life, there's a technique where I call it gang stabbing. So what you do is you do the finisher attack on the ground, you swap to the other character. As the other person's finisher is ending, you initiate one with the other one, and then you swap back. And what this does is this will chain finishing moves, and it will stun lock the enemy on the floor. It is the easiest and most effective way to kill anything big that can be knocked over. It takes a while though when you're not that upgraded, but fighting him when he stood up, that dude will just tank through your attacks and do big damage. So it's a fantastic strategy for such as him. But YouTube is an interesting mistress, and as I've said from the very beginning, my goal is not just YouTube. You know, I'm constantly looking for other things on top of this. This is just an awesome area that I can present somewhat of a portfolio for what I like to do and what I enjoy, and that is my passion of gaming. And hopefully it will act as a springboard into something bigger, because there are plenty of bigger channels out there that will no doubt at some point be in need of a recruitment or, you know, of expansion into certain areas. And if it's video production when it comes to making walkthroughs, or if it's any kind of game video production, it's right up my alley. I've got a lot of experience with it, and you never know, it could be a springboard into being part of a wonderful team on a really successful channel. And I'm not holding my breath for it, because I fervently believe that you have to earn things. And if you just stand around waiting for things to happen, they never do. You have to go out there and get them, which, you know, that's why when I am, you know, working, which a lot of people don't really see it as that, I always do it with the professionalism and the drive of when I worked in a supermarket, you know, stacking shelves for 8 hours a day, when I worked in a call centre, getting shouted at because somebody didn't understand that when you live in England you pay fucking tax on everything. And hell yes, it's expensive, but what do we do? That's just how it is. And it's that tautological response of, if you don't like it, you know, go somewhere else. That's the way it is because that's the way it is. But it's a privilege as well, folks. And not everybody can say that they're doing what they love, even if they're having to sacrifice things and having to endure while they do it. And I can at this moment. I might not be happy with my situation, but I am privileged, and, you know, if you believe enough, it'll eventually pay off. That's what all the Mormons tell me anyway, so boom. give myself to my Lord and Saviour, and he will give me the career that I so cherish. But this is the boss. He is the Mad Doctor. He's going to teleport around and fire scalpels at you. The scalpels can be deflected back at him, and he also does this kind of weird electrical move, which is super pointless, and if you knock him down like that, you can actually finish him, which is kind of funny. But just be aware, that ball will bounce around, and if it touches you, it will do damage. So there's the first phase down. So from this point onwards, he's going to go invisible. And I didn't know what was happening my first playthrough here, but you have to knock the scalpels back at him, so then you can combo him. And after a while, he's going to go into a mode where he essentially casts Doom on your party. And to cancel it, you have to do enough damage to him to make it wear off. If you don't, this is it, by the way. This will instantly kill you if you allow it to go and trigger. It's death. It's full-on death. It's not cool. And what will also happen is, when he gets frustrated that you're kicking his ass, he will teleport to the balcony and start fighting whoever's up there. And on a couple of recordings, I swapped to the person on the balcony, but I had no room to evade him, and I took damage. So instead, to get the no damage strategy, I allowed him to kill her, he comes back downstairs, and then we get to fight again. But this is when things get a little bit more tricky. He's going to cast a dozen sets of scalpels, and you have to hit the correct one back. But you'll notice they do fakes. They try and catch you off guard. So it's all about just watching them, paying attention, and staying on top of him. And you'll notice either my weapons are weak, or this boss just has a staggering amount of life. But he takes far too much, we're fighting for far too long, and it's a boss that, if the damage on this was what it should be, it would probably be over much quicker and be much more enjoyable. But as it stands, it's a little bit of a slog, and I think the only games that suit, bosses where they have lots of life, is a game which has a combo system, and a game where the combat is designed around doing big, lavish combos. Like in Devil May Cry, some of the bosses are massive damage sponges, but the point is, you can do ridiculous amounts of fancy combos on them, and that's what makes them enjoyable. Bayonetta's the same. You don't do that much damage because you can do all those fancy moves. In a game like Ninja Gaiden, you do massive damage to the bosses because that's the way they make them a little bit more fair, because they do massive damage to you. And, they generally have 10 fellas with them at the same time. And the cool part of that is, you can use those fellas to get essence, to do a UT on a boss and do big damage. The shitty part is when they put you against a boss where you pretty much can't UT them. And that happens quite a lot, which is a bit of a shame, but it all depends on what kind of game it is, and unfortunately, this teeters on the bad side of high life bosses, in my opinion. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, you take care now.